Now, on the people smuggler story exposed on Four Corners, Captain Emat, of course, has left the country since. This is the point that Kerry O'Brien made after the program and then picked up by Tony Abbott.
One serious question to be posed from tonight's story is this. How is it that one small team from a television program with limited resources can expose the facts and the people revealed tonight, yet governments with all the resources and expertise at their disposal seemingly cannot?
Now, the obvious question which occurs is, if the TV stations can find them, why can't the government stop them?
OK, we'll talk about that in a moment, but first we'll hear from the AFP Commissioner, Tony Negus, and he explains why the guy wasn't arrested at the airport.
There's one thing to paint them in a damning light in a television program, but having enough admissible evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law in this country is a different thing.
Now, is that a reasonable point? You need the evidence before you arrest somebody.
It is a reasonable point. I guess the question is, what's admissible evidence and how good does it have to be? He did make the point that police don't have as much flexibility of movement as a TV network does. For example, the crew was able to go overseas and go into the shops in Malaysia and talk to the family members. He says the AFP can't do that. They have to rely on local police to do that. So it was a little bit of a dig at the local police. But the Indonesians are sending the message back, well, hang on a minute, you know, you guys have been holier than thou on this issue of people smuggling and you're letting people not only get in but then sending them away again without stopping them.
But the Four Corners interview essentially was based on relatives of people who had people die on a boat which sank.
And still paid the money.
And they paid the money, and they were in Australia. And the sinking, I think, occurred in 2010.
Yeah.
So I think it's a joke for the Federal Police Commissioner to say that that they were unable to do something in the last 18 or 14 to 18 months. If those people within Australia were paying money for dead relatives, passengers...
Well, I suppose if you're tracking it back to the loss of that boat, you do strike a jurisdictional problem. Where did it sink? In whose territory did it sink?
No, before you even get there...
But that's what they will argue.
Well, I think that's a fallacious argument. Because what this exposes is that the interviewing process in the camps, in Christmas Island, when these people come ashore, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just showed so many holes in our whole refugee asylum acceptance process, and I think it goes to what Abbott was saying.
Remember the Hanif case, though?
Yes,
as a result of the Hanif case, no government wants to go out and prematurely arrest people, right? You want to get it right.
You do, but I mean, this is why I'm saying that there are obviously so many flaws in the way these boat people are being assessed and brought into Australia. I mean, there were witnesses people are interviewed on this program who said that Captain Emat brought in his whole family, or his whole family were here. And what riles people really up here is that Emat was living in a taxpayer-funded home. His daughter was in another one, or a couple of other family members. They all have different apartments, and we know from the 2009 housing stats that you have more than 500,000 people across Australia who can't afford rental housing.
Now, the Weekend Australian then had reports quoting senior government sources saying that the key witness that Four Corners used was unreliable. Now, they would say that, wouldn't they? Because...
Well, Four Corners put out a very good rebuttal on all of that, and I don't know if all our viewers have seen it, but I advise them to go to the Four Corners website. I've been following this very, very closely, and I really think that it was a very impressive documentary, and I thought their rebuttal of the anonymous sources, the Federal Police or the Minister's office, was quite good.
And the witness, in fact, had come highly recommended by the Special Forces in Iraq. It wasn't just anybody.
And he seemed to have been an informant to American intelligence over the years and so on and so forth. And he's putting a lot on the line by going public in this manner.
In any case, they are paying attention in Indonesia, and if this MP for Indonesia is typical of the rest, then they're mightily unimpressed with the Australian government. Have a listen to this.
We have been very cooperative. Our police and immigration officers are trying very hard right now to stop and to cut the network. But then we are disappointed with the news that Australian government is giving asylum status to one of the big smugglers. There should be a cooperation, and in fact cooperation has been established, but it's broken right now. So it's a very sad fact, it's a very sad news.
And it all goes back to the point that the Rudd government, on the advice of Julia Gillard, put the welcome mat out when it removed the barriers that the Howard government had in place, which worked. Now, I know a lot of viewers will say, oh, no, but the boats stopped, and now they're back in record numbers.
Contributing to that, there were also different circumstances abroad, and those circumstances have changed. You have to acknowledge that